How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. So I have what I think is a really interesting episode for everybody today. We're going to look at what is holding up AI adoption for compliance purposes in banks across the country right now in the U.S. But we're also going to take a look, hang with me, because a little bit later in the episode, we're going to look at how is AI adoption overall going? And a recent study from MIT, which I'm going to show everyone, basically shows that a lot of money is being dumped into AI by businesses, not just banks, but businesses across the country right now. But basically, they're not seeing any return on that AI investment as so far, basically zero return. So we're going to take a look at that in a few minutes. But let's get into first, I want to show you guys this blog post from PCBB, which basically is titled Regulatory Gaps Slow U.S. AI Compliance Adoption. So U.S. financial institutions are falling behind global peers in adopting AI for compliance, slowed by federal deregulation and a patchwork of state rules. We detail the impact and tips to ease the transition. So it goes on here. How the U.S. stacks up in AI-backed compliance. Well, according to the 2025 Global Relay Annual Compliance Report, 71.4% of banks in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa plan to incorporate AI into their compliance systems, compared with only 43.7% of banks in the U.S. and 61.5% in the rest of the world. Among those already using AI, EMEA and the U.S. trail the rest of the world. Only 32% of banks in North America and 33.3% in EMEA currently use AI in compliance workflows versus 41.2% of their peers elsewhere. The gap underscores the challenges U.S. banks face in adopting emerging compliance technology. So regulation is a major factor impacting the approach that banks have taken to AI-enhanced compliance. In the EU, banks have been given fairly clear guidance on regulators' approach to overseeing AI compliance through the EU AI Act, which outlines how actively the usage of specific AI systems will be regulated based on the overall risks they pose. By contrast, the U.S. lacks comprehensive federal direction, resulting in greater uncertainty for financial institutions considering AI adoption. Now, I would say that that's not by accident. The big tech bros, okay, Facebook, Meta, Tesla, Amazon, Google, all these guys are locked in an AI arms race death match right now. And they don't want to see any regulation around AI. They don't care what it is, okay? They want a free lane to be able to do whatever it is they want to do. And basically, they'll figure out the ramifications later on. I don't, it gets very hard, because do I think that they should have an absolutely free reign to do whatever they want to do? Like, no, because I think there are a lot of risks with AI. That being said, do we want to potentially lose the AI arms race to China? No, I do not particularly want to lose the AI arms race to China. That absolutely not. But at the same time, I feel, just my personal opinion, I feel the tech bros have proven themselves to this point very untrustworthy. They're not operating in our best interest. They're operating in their best interests. So, so there's a lot of, question marks there, as it were. The other thing is, we don't really know yet. It's kind of hard in certain respects to throw a lot of regulation out there, because I think the Euro AI, I think in a lot of respects, they really jumped the gun. I think they're going to have to go back and do probably a lot of major revisions to that law as the years go on, because I think they just, flew out of the gate with it. Because again, it hasn't really developed yet. I mean, we're still very much in this very gray area of not really knowing how a lot of this stuff is going to fall out yet. But anyway, I digress for a minute. Let's continue on. So the impact of deregulation in the U.S., however, there is less clarity. Not only did Trump's reelection present a changing of the guard at the White House, but it also meant a 180-degree turnaround in terms of the government's approach to overall regulation, particularly regarding the financial industry. The current administration is pursuing a deregulation approach and has sought to roll back many of the policies that previous administrations put in place for banking oversight. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saw much of its reach nullified, and the Securities and Exchange Commission has significantly scaled back its its staff and revoked the ability of the director of the Division of Enforcement to initiate formal investigations, which must now be authorized by a majority vote of the commissioners. The administration's pro-cryptocurrency approach also saw the elimination of the Department of Justice's National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. State regulations add complexity as well. So in response to reduced federal oversight, states such as California, New York, Illinois, and Washington have increased enforcement of financial and digital activities. This state-by-state approach has created a patchwork of evolving regulations that is particularly challenging for banks operating across multiple jurisdictions. Compliance teams not only face higher costs, but also increased operational risk, especially when integrating new AI-driven systems. So what are some tips for managing changing regulations? Well, navigating compliance in a fragmented regulatory environment requires proactive steps, especially when planning for AI integration. The following approaches can help position your institution to adapt quickly and confidently as oversight continues to evolve. So number one, build up your compliance team. Number two, stay connected in the industry. And number three, keep in touch with regulators. So I would say this, I did an episode a couple weeks ago, if you guys want to go back and check it out. Maybe I'll include it on the end card here at the end of this. Basically, how a bank should go about creating its AI policy. And what I say in that episode is that banks should just get started with it. They have to understand that it's a policy that's going to grow and it's going to evolve and it's going to change massively in the next 5 years. But just get started with it. Write some basics down. How do you what do you want to know from your vendors about AI? How do you want to manage AI with your vendors? How do you want to manage AI with your employees? How do you want to manage AI with your customers? So I think that's where you start. I think you kind of start there looking at that, and obviously keep in touch with regulators. But I think that's where you basically at least start with this. And then again, like you said, you begin to kind of work that into your compliance team, as it were. But there's no doubt right now. I mean, it is very difficult because there is not a lot of guidance around this. I think it's very easy for banks to get ahead of themselves and do some stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing that, could come back to bite them later on, but we'll see. But anyway, okay. I wanted to read you guys, everyone, a blog post from Naomi Snyder, the editor-in-chief of Bank Director, because she had these kind of comments. So, and this was titled AI Setbacks. So, adoption is high, disruption is low. That's one of the conclusions of a headline-grabbing report from businesses using artificial intelligence from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology last month. So now I'm going to show you this report. So this is what she's talking about. So this is from MIT. This is the generative, let me blow this up. This is the Generative AI Divide, State of AI in Business 2025. Now, I do have links to both the PCB blog post and this report as well down in the description below if you want to go take a look at them. So, but this reads, despite 30 billion to 40 billion in enterprise investment in generative AI, 95% of organizations are getting zero return. According to the Generative AI Divide, State of AI in Business 2025. So the researchers interviewed 52 leaders from various industries and reviewed survey data from 153 leaders. So this isn't a surprise, at least for anyone in the banking industry. I've been doing interviews about the latest iteration of artificial intelligence, generative AI, and its impact on banking. What I've learned is that bank directors and leadership teams are taking a cautious approach, which I detail in the upcoming issue of Bank Director Magazine, due out on October 8th. Little shameless plug there for Bank Director Magazine. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Their website is also fantastic. I cover many of their articles. There are a lot of governance considerations and risks to mitigate, and thankfully, banks tend to do well in these areas. Just like any other industry, banks are interested in improving productivity through artificial intelligence, as well as growing and expanding capabilities. But there haven't been a lot of reports about show-stopping uses among the nation's smaller banks, many of whom don't have the staff to scale up uses internally. Getting help with emails, transcripts, and PowerPoint presentations hasn't translated into an earnings impact yet. Many banks are only experimenting with limited use cases that don't involve customers or customer data. Smaller banks may see better success rates when they partner with vendors than when they try to implement AI on their own. AI deployments that make a difference also will need solid leaders, not just junior level staffers experimenting at their desks. Vendors may have proven platforms where smaller banks don't need to play guinea pig, but here too, there have been problems. Most enterprise grade tools fail due to brittle workflows, lack of contextual learning, and misalignment with day-to-day operations, the MIT researchers wrote. Perhaps a partnership approach would work better than a vendor-controlled approach. Organizations with external partnerships for AI see twice the success rates as organizations that focus on internal builds. The MIT researchers wrote, buyers who succeed demand process-specific customization and evaluate tools based on business outcomes rather than software benchmarks, according to the report. They expect systems that integrate with existing processes and improve over time. So again, very interesting report from MIT. I'm not going to go into this in this particular episode, but if anybody wants me to cover this, I'd be happy to do a full, blown, kind of coverage of this report here from MIT. But again, it brings up a lot of interesting questions, a lot of interesting things. Like, I think there's a lot with AI right now that can make employees more efficient and more productive, but is it really getting to the bottom line at this point? And I think the answer to that is no. And also, I think, if you want to work with a vendor to implement AI, that's absolutely. However, I think you really got to look at, how is this translating into business, or just with any other technology project? How is this, this aligning with the business strategy and generating business outcomes, i.e. profits, results, okay? How is all that lining up at the end of the day? And I think that's what you really have to take some time to consider and think about at the end of the day. So, okay, but I hope everybody thought that this little another chapter or installment, if you will, of AI news. I hope people found this interesting. And with that, I will wrap up by saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That helps the channel. Please remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. If you have not seen BND Strategy Room, which is the main show of the channel, it's a live stream on YouTube every Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Please make sure to check that out. And like I said, I thank everyone for listening. I hope everyone has a great day out there, and I will see everyone again real soon. Thanks a lot.